The 5th South African Investment Conference is set to get underway in Sandton today. President Cyril Ramaphosa and the economic cluster are looking to raise a total of 1.2 trillion rands worth of investments over 5 years. And this, of course, comes as the country faces challenges including the energy crisis, stagnant economic growth and high levels of crime. For more on this, we're joined this morning by Webster Mfebe, who is the CEO of the SA Forum of Civil Engineering Contractors. Webster, good morning. It's great to see you. Thanks so much for coming into studio. It's a difficult ask, isn't it? We're in the midst of stage 6 load shedding, ironically, with this conference kicking off. That means 8 to 12 hours a day without power. How do we deal with that on the one hand and then look for investment into our economy?
It's a contradiction in terms, actually. What would attract investors internationally and domestically is the reliable energy supply, because energy drives commerce, drives industry, drives household, hospitals, and the like. It is a difficult ask for the president to woo investors into an economy that is fraught with the current challenges of load shedding, which the South African Reserve Bank estimate the stages of load shedding is one about 899 million to the economy, and it is indeed very sad. However, having said that, I think the president has taken measures to appoint a special minister to deal with the electricity crisis. He has been going around visiting power stations and trying to improve the electricity availability factor in these power stations, but we are yet to see concrete results on the ground in terms of turning around the situation, which is very dire at the moment.
Yeah.
This drives away investments in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're trying to attract investment for obvious reasons, and yet our own small businesses, our SMEs here in South Africa, are buckling. Many of them are just not able to survive the kind of pressure that comes with having load shedding for most of the workday. And they can't afford, because they are small businesses, they can't afford the infrastructure that you need, like generators, to try and make up that capacity.
Yeah, it increases the cost of business, especially on the part of SMMEs, who are the natural casualties of the unavailability of reliable energy supply. Now, some of them are using internet, for an example, for connectivity to do business. Without internet, without the means of production in terms of having reliable energy supply, they are destined to fail. Yeah. And many have closed their doors. It increases inequality in South Africa, which the World Bank has already said, confirmed March last year, that South Africa remains #1 unequal society in the world in terms of poverty and inequality. And this adds to that equation. Infrastructure investment. It is a well-known, proven fact international. There's empirical evidence that if you invest in good quality infrastructure, you then have a positive effect on long-run growth and negative impact on income inequality and poverty. So it is not a rocket science that you need to implement infrastructure. What we're lacking in this country is 3 things. 1, implementation; 2, implementation; and 3, implementation. Yeah. The plans are good.
The plans are good. They look good on paper. Our plans are always good, right? But the question is, and I wonder whether you see it, is there any urgency in dealing with load shedding? Yes, we've appointed a new electricity minister, but arguably there were other portfolios that were responsible for the work that he's now having to do, right? Is the urgency there? Are you seeing it on the ground?
Well, I think what is lacking is consequence management, which has been missing. We're yet to see serious consequence management. Yes, in terms of the posture, public posture from the government, from the president down to ministers and others, there seems to be an urgency to deal with the situation.
Saying the right things.
Yes, saying the right things, and the plans are good. but implementation is still lacking. There has to be serious consequences. There has to be a serious skills audit to ensure that if the right people are in the right jobs in terms of driving this, you need qualified engineers to look after these power stations.
Yeah.
And I do see, therefore, urgency, at least from the government side, from the public posture, but in terms of the results themselves, the reduction of load shedding would be evidence of the urgency. In the absence of that, any reasonable person, in terms of the reasonable person standard, you would say it is lacking.
Yeah. There can't be such a gap in what you say and what we experience.
Obviously, there has to be congruence between the two.
Yeah. Crime and corruption is another issue, no doubt, that will be on the agenda at the investment conference, right? It's the issue of load shedding, assuring investors that it's safe to come here and put your money in our country in a context where, the other big story on our news agenda this morning is the escaped convict Thabo Webster. What are some of the other buttons that the President needs to press today as he kicks off the fifth leg of this conference?
I think he needs to ensure the investors, and I think he's doing a good job in trying to get the investors in. He needs to ensure, to assure them that South Africa is indeed doing everything possible to bring down the high levels of crime rate. In terms of the global crime index, South Africa is #1 in the world. The second place is Venezuela, and the third is Papua New Guinea. We are the world's highest rated crime country in the whole world. We need to change that perception. So investors will not, all of them, be attracted to come. Some are taking risks because South Africa is good in terms of infrastructure that is there, financial and physical infrastructure, natural resources. There is a lot that they can get a return on their investment if they invest in South Africa. Yeah. All these other factors, environmental factors that need to be eradicated, such as the high rate of crime, as I've indicated, we're #1 in the world. We need to bring that down. Corruption, as well, in terms of corruption watch and indexes, we're also ranking amongst the top corrupt countries in the world. And we are yet to see consequences, not only of small fish, of officials. The political accountability is something that is lacking. In other countries, if a department headed by a political head, a minister, is involved in corruption, the minister would voluntarily resign as a result of that. Here, despite the pressure from the public, from community-based organizations, bringing out these things, despite the Zondo Commission report, still there's no high political figure who has been taken to task. And therefore, until we see those things taking place, that will build confidence domestically and international that indeed South Africa is serious in dealing with the endemic crime and corruption in the country.
It's going to be an uphill battle, no doubt, at the fifth leg of the SA Investment Conference, which is getting underway in Sandton today. Webster, let me thank you for your time this morning. Webster Mfebe is the CEO of the SA Forum of Civil Engineering Contractors.